Yeah, we're live.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Digital Nomad Mastery, the podcast where we teach you how to make money while traveling the world. On these episodes, we interview digital nomads from around the world at every stage, from wannabe digital nomad to beginner to kind of in the middle to well-established digital nomads. And today, we're very privileged to have an established digital nomad who's been traveling around the world, living in different countries and continents, and setting up businesses as he goes. And I know a lot of you listening probably in the same boat. You'd love to be traveling, but you just don't have enough money. You don't know where to start a business, and you just have a lot of fears, doubts, insecurities. So we'd love to help you solve the problems by the wisdom and expertise of other digital nomads. So today we have Simon Lewis, who's actually in Liverpool. We have myself, who's in Fresh Guyana. We have our co-host, Scott, who's in Croatia. And even though we're in three separate countries, we've managed to coordinate our times, our schedules, to bring this interview to you, to your ears and to your eyes. So take it away, Scott.
Awesome. Well, Simon, it's great to have you on the show, and I'm really excited to hear what you've got to say, because you're really involved in the co-working space. And as a digital nomad, one of my frustrations from most of the time is the fact that the internet in many places is not as good as it should be, or if it is really good, it is not good where I am.
Yeah. Well, it's like the internet is all relative. If you're used to fast internet, you're not going to get super fast fiber internet everywhere. That's for sure. But it's like if you're used to sort of slow or medium internet, it's you find a way to work.
Yeah. Well, Ricky and I try to do video recordings, and so we need it a little bit quicker than we do than maybe some people do. So tell us a little bit about yourself, Simon. How did you get started? Like, where did you start, and then how come you left?
Well, I've been basically traveling for 20 years. I've 70 countries in 71 countries in 20 years. I've lived and worked in 9 countries, and about 10 years ago, I actually had a job. It was my last proper job. And it was quite interesting because I had an office that I had to go to, but I didn't really have to go there. And I literally suggested to my boss that, one day I was like, look, I really don't have to come to this office. Do you realize that I can do this job from anywhere? And he was a little bit uncomfortable about it at that stage. And he gave me a 3-month trial to see how it was. So I started working for a UK-based company in Germany, and I worked from a bedroom, and I worked from a computer and things like that. And then it sort of became, 2006. This was people, weren't very used to you not coming to an office if you were employed. So they would check in on me online on Skype conversations and things like that. But then I actually decided to start my own company, because I wanted to have more flexibility, and I realized I could do it from anywhere. As long as I had an internet connection and a telephone, I could do it from anywhere. And when my company is a travel marketing company, and at first it was very difficult to sort of convince clients to work with you, because they were never actually going to physically meet you. But over the last 10 years, the internet has changed. The internet has changed a lot of things, and people feel that they don't even need to meet you. And so I've worked for clients in Europe, Africa, South America, Australia, Asia, all from a computer in various different countries around the world. And the main thing that people like is accountability. If you're working on a project, or you're working in a different time zone, I found it very interesting how clients react. That if they send you an email and it's 9 o'clock in the morning their time, and it's 1 o'clock in the morning your time, and you answer that email, they're very happy about that. So it was very interesting. It was very interesting a few years ago when I was based in Cape Town in South Africa, and I was working for a Mexican client in Mexico City, and I would work within their hours. So I would work. It was very interesting how they would say, "Okay, can we have can we have a Skype meeting at 2:00 Mexico City time, which was I think it was about 11 p.m. Cape Town time. But of course, yeah. So that was very interesting for them. I always work within clients' working hours, not my own.
That's a great tip, Simon. And tell us a little bit more about what you do with your travel marketing business.
So, you know, we started 10 years ago representing brands at travel shows and things like that. And, you know, I've worked in travel for 20 years, so I have a lot of contacts in the travel business. And we then started working more as a social media company. So we were literally, you know, at the start of social media in 2007, we were setting up Facebook pages for people, setting up Twitter accounts for people, managing their social media, setting up their LinkedIn accounts, and people, you know, were evangelists for social media, if you like. And people were saying, you know, it was back. I remember getting laughed at. I was physically laughed at a travel conference because I was literally standing on a travel stand of a travel brand and physically laughed at by somebody when they said, this gentleman would like us to pay him to Facebook for us. That was the way it was. That was the way it was described in 2007, 2008. So we were managing people's Facebook platforms, Twitter accounts, etc. Then we realized that there was a severe lack of content, because when social media became more advanced and people realized they needed content, we actually realized that the clients didn't have the content that they wanted to produce. So we sort of pivoted, if you like, into a content marketing company where we worked with travel travel bloggers and photographers and videographers, creating content for travel brands. We've created our own brands. We've created social media campaigns, working with international bloggers. And we were quite early in that, to be honest, because by mistake, we worked with a client in 2010 who wanted us to create something new. And that was an international brand called Hostling International, you know, the global network of youth hostels around the world. Mm-hmm. And we got the contract to relaunch their brand in South Africa. And we had a very cool CEO at Hostling International at the head office in the UK who said they wanted us to do something different. So we came up with using bloggers. In 2010, the blogger industry didn't exist. We didn't really know what we were doing, but nobody really knew what they were doing. And we literally we posted adverts on the South African version of Craigslist and offered people free trips around South Africa to go and create content for us. And it was people like Ricky, you know, it was people content going, is this for real? Can we get a free trip around South Africa? And we were like, yeah, we just want you to travel around South Africa and document it. Take daily pictures, post them on Facebook, you know, write a blog post as if it's a daily diary. And we didn't know this was the blogger industry. It didn't exist in 2010. And in 2010, we did six national blogger trips around South Africa with bloggers from all around the world. We did a video campaign in 2010 where we used an Australian blogger to travel around South Africa, creating videos, and that got us noticed by South African tourism. So there's the very famous South African tourism campaign they did, which is a groundbreaking campaign called Meet South Africa, the hashtag Meet South Africa. They used sort of teams of international bloggers to travel around the country and create content. And because we were already doing that, we were employed as consultants to do that. And from that, we've worked with national tourism boards in Colombia, Medellin in Colombia. We worked with them. We worked with the Greek National Tourism Board. We've worked with various different national tourism boards creating campaigns like that. So we moved on from sort of those blogger campaigns, and in 2014 I actually went to Brazil for 3 months because digital nomading, if you like. Everything that we ran operationally in South Africa was from this computer that I'm sitting in front of now, and it could be done from anywhere in the world. And I'm a big football fan, I've been to 3 World Cups. We ran an operation in South Africa during 2010, and we wanted to go to Brazil and replicate that in Brazil and run operations and tours around Brazil for the World Cup. But we started, because we have experience in the World Cup, we actually started a year in advance, and I traveled around visiting all stadiums, the World Cup, learning about the city so we could advise people how to travel around Brazil. And ball. When we were speaking the in the UK about what we would to the they wanted us to create in South America events for travel. Sao Paulo, so we really in 2015 and between 2015 it was
Simon, you worked in these amazing projects. I'm really impressed by the wealth and the depth and the width of the countries, the tourism boards you worked with. And I know just through our friendship, you're always working on new things. So tell us now, here we are in 2017, where have you got your fingers wet into? You're dipping your toes everywhere.
I'm an ideas person, and I like to come up with ideas, and I like to do things differently. And you know what, I always look at myself and look at what other people are doing, because people always say, you know, oh well, that wouldn't work for me. And you've got to say, well, it might not work for you, but it might work for other people. You know, so what I realized from digital nomading is that I absolutely hate working from home. I hate sitting in an apartment working. You know, if you're traveling around the world and you're working, you want to be out, you want to be seeing the city, you want to be experiencing the city, you want to be seeing different people and meeting different people around the world, connecting globally. So this year we started a brand called Co-working Days, because we realized in the online world, the online world is growing. A lot more people are working online on various different projects. It can be accountants, it can be web designers, it can be graphic designers. It really can be anything that people can do remotely and work online. We also realized that there are a lot of meetups and events for digital nomads and for startups and for people, because people are craving offline events because their lives are existing behind computers and on devices nowadays. So we took both of those examples and put them together, and realized that the weak link was that all these meetups and events are in the evenings. They are for people to meet up after work, have a few drinks and network. So our co-working days concept is about meeting up and working socially and being productive. So now we have co-working days, events where people can meet in cafes, they can meet in co-working spaces, they can even have brainstorming walks, all about the community of people who want to work together socially. So we started that in Athens, Greece, and it's been quite a success, because we have the meetups once a month in different locations around in Athens, and we find it. I like social experiments as well, so we find it really interesting that people come to these events, and what interesting people come to the events, because we have people who want to come and they want to have a theme. They want to sit in a cafe and have a theme and discuss SEO, discuss new marketing ideas. And we also have people who are just happy to come to our events and be out of their pajamas, out of their apartment, and working together in a group of people. So we've had co-working days events now in Athens, London, Cape Town, Berlin. We've also growing communities in Prague. And you know, you're the first people to know this, but off the back of our co-working days event in London that we had this week, we were contacted yesterday by a community in Mauritius, and they are actually wanting to start a co-working days event in Mauritius and also in Bucharest in Romania. To have tapped into something that people want. They want to work socially. You know, they want to be able to, they don't want to sit in a library sort of atmosphere where everybody's plugged in and they're not able to talk, which a lot of co-working spaces are. They want to sit in a cool cafe and meet people and, you know, be productive, which is our slogan.
That is awesome. I'm really excited to hear that, because half the time where I go is based on, is there a co-working space and do they have good internet? And yes. I actually was in southern Turkey for 3 weeks with very, very poor internet because I was right out in the middle of nowhere. And so then I started doing a search, and Skopje, Macedonia had a co-working space. So I sent them a message, how fast is your internet? 100 megs up, 100 megs down, she says. I said, great, I'm going to be there in a week. And spent a week with them and just had a great time. So
yeah, well, this is the thing as well. You know, you can, when, you know, it's all about building a community, because, you know, I can go to a co-working space, but I want to go to a co-working space and meet people. So, you know, being productive might be, I work a lot, being a digital nomad, I work on productivity and finding the balance between work and life. So every morning before work, I will take a 3-kilometer, 6-kilometer walk wherever I am, and that is my walk to work. Then I will go to a cafe and I will work, and I work on being productive. And maybe being productive on a computer isn't what you need that day. Maybe being productive is meeting somebody new. And if you ask anybody, I'm sorry, but if you ask anybody how fast is their Wi-Fi, they're going to say it's fast. you know, they're going to say oh, the Wi-Fi is amazing. Don't worry, you can come here and work. But you want to actually reach out to communities and ask, do they know where the fast Wi-Fi is? Yeah. And did they have experience of working in that cafe, in that co-working space? What is the atmosphere like? Can I go and meet somebody? And when you've got a community that you can tap into, you know, you can arrive in Athens now, you can arrive in Cape Town now, you can arrive in London, and you can contact the co-working days community, and you can say, hey guys, is there anybody around? You know, I need some advice on SEO. I've got a little bit of a programming problem. Is there anybody who just wants to meet up and have a chat? And, you know, maybe we can share some ideas. Maybe I can help you with something. That's what I like about the concept.
Are there any good websites where you can actually find co-working spaces? Because that's, I think, one of the challenges is that when you arrive in a new city or country or continent, you have no idea. You know, like, for example, with me, I've been traveling around Brazil, now in French Guiana, Suriname, and Guyana. These aren't the biggest digital nomad hubs in the world. So I've just been working in my hotels or in coffee shops, etc. So I don't even know if they're co-working spaces. So I don't know. Do you know if there's any websites like that?
There's a website. There's many websites. There are many websites that are growing. One that I found recently is called Nomad List. And that is a paid subscription where they charge you $30 a month, etc. Which I'm just trying for the first couple of days now. There's another one called workfrom.co. I think it's workfrom.co. They're a Portland-based website, I think, but they will tell you all the cafes around the world and the Wi-Fi speeds and things like that. And also there's a growing movement as well to co-working retreats and co-working retreats where you can stay for a week or something like that, and there's a theme, and also co-living houses as well. This is a movement that is happening, and that is a sort of reaction to the fact that, you know, backpacker hostels or cheap accommodation places around the world will never guarantee you good Wi-Fi, because their business model is not to give you good Wi-Fi. Their business model is to get you to sleep in their beds, consume their food, consume their alcohol, and book tours. So now there are many co-living houses springing up around the world, and there's a really good brand in the United States that are expanding quite quickly called Outsite. And they've got houses in Santa Cruz, California, Lake Tahoe, California, Venice Beach, LA, San Diego, Puerto Rico, Costa Rica, and I recently saw that they're opening up in Hawaii and New York. But there are many of these co-living houses, and that's something that we are doing with our co-working days. Back onto what we did in London this week, which was a very interesting project. We set up co-working days this year, and we are very well.
Well, we lost our guest. This is one of the things that happens when you're a busy co-working expert like Simon is. I'd like to say he got called away, but he got dropped. So hopefully he will be back in a minute.
And while we're waiting, we could talk about our co-working experience. So tell us about all these co-working hotspots you've visited, and how have you found them when you're traveling around Eastern Europe, for example? Scott?
There, like he mentioned Nomad List, and I don't recall if that's the same one but there is one, and it has a bunch of information on co-working places. First of all, whether the cities are good for co-working in general, and so it's not just the speed of the internet, but, you know, is it expensive, inexpensive? Is it a fun place? Is it a safe place? All of those things. And what I find is really helpful, and he kind of alluded to it, was different groups. So I look for, expat groups in Vietnam, or, gringos in Medellin. And then all of a sudden you're at place, and this is where everyone kind of congregates. And then it's like, okay, well, what is a good co-working spot? And you need to really know it before you go, because you could have a great co-working spot, but you're like, an hour drive across town from it, So I was really lucky in Skopje in Macedonia, because I knew where the place was, and then I found an Airbnb that was less than 5-minute walk. I couldn't believe it. It didn't look that close on the map, but when I got there, 5 minutes, and I was at the co-working spot. It was really cool. The other thing that I liked about the co-working place in Skopje was when I told the people who I was, they arranged for an event. So there was, 5 or 10 people came to this event. I got to talk about podcasting, and now, of course, I knew these people. They knew me. They told me a little bit more about the city. I got a chance to become part of a community that I hadn't had an opportunity to do before. So I really recommend, when you're looking at the co-working spots and you finally find one that you like, tell them, well, you know what, I happen to be an expert on this, and they may say, wow, like, because they're always looking for something to kind of drum up business and excitement, right? So if you can come and you can talk to a group of them on whatever your topic is and keep them enthralled and interested, you're never a prophet in your own land, but when you're traveling, you are like, absolutely amazing. This guy from Canada has come to Macedonia. He's only the 4th person in the history of the world to ever come from Canada. And so they make you feel special, and you have a good time too, because you meet local people that you wouldn't otherwise meet. And I think that's a big key to, traveling. I mean, what's the difference between traveling to Athens or Rio de Janeiro or New York, or to a hotel in your own city? Usually not much. So, the TV might be a little different, You know, so what's really different is when you go to the community and you get to meet the people and you talk to them and you see how they live. And I have to tell you that I'm a bit ashamed of how I am as a host compared to how I've been treated as a guest. And so that's something that's definitely going to change when I settle down again.
Well, yeah, absolutely. I mean, so many people have helped us on this journey, like even here in French Guiana. French Guiana doesn't have the best tourism infrastructure in the world. It doesn't have a tourism infrastructure at all. And there's not many buses between cities. Half the time, there's no schedules. You even as you probably, if you listen to the last episode, I had to like jump out of that last episode just because I had to catch this minibus which just arrived at my hotel to pick me up because there's no public buses between towns. So I've been struggling here, and but the thing is, like, so many people are helpful. Like for example, in the capital of French Guiana, I was staying in Sian, and we weren't sure how to get to the next town. So what happened is, at the hotel we were staying in, I ended up running into a couple from Richmond, BC, Canada, of all places, and I'm actually from like Burnaby, so they're only like a 50-minute drive away from my hometown. And they would drive. They had rented a car and they were driving the next town. And we met, and within 5 minutes, I jumped in the car with my bags and my kids, and we were off to the next town. So I had no idea how I was going to get to the next town, and within a few minutes, I had a ride. So
Nice.
You'll be amazed by the amount of people who will help you on your journey.
That's right.
And
welcome back, Simon.
We have Simon back, and Simon is actually one of the people who's helped me on my journey. When I was actually in Rio de Janeiro, when I was in Cape Town, I was looking to connect with locals, and Simon set up an amazing network called the African Blogger Network, and he was able to connect me with a few different bloggers in South Africa. When I went to Rio, I was looking to do some travel blogging, and he connected me with the hostel owner in Rio, so I was able to stay there for free in return for a blog review. So people like Simon, who are amazing networkers, are really good to connect with. Because they'll be able to help you without even having met. He's just able to help and connect me digitally.
It's also
recommend connecting with Simon.
It's also really good when you're traveling to do some crowdsourcing. I always enjoy a little bit of crowdsourcing. So whenever I go to a destination, I will always say, hey guys, or whenever I'm going to a destination, I'll always use my social media network to say, hey guys, I'm going here. Anybody got any recommendations? And it's amazing how connected you can become, and how people will connect you to their friends and give you advice and all that sort of stuff. And you know, that's why you travel to sort of experience other places, but you travel to meet other people as well. So it's fantastic.
Yeah, the great tip there. I actually did that when I was in Brazil. When we first got to Brazil, I just said, hey guys, on social media, I just said, we're coming to Brazil and we'd love to meet people along the way. If you know anyone, tag them in the comments below. And within about 10-15 minutes, I had about 20 different names of people in Rio, in Sao Paulo, in Curitiba, up in Salvador. And at the end, we've actually finished Brazil now. And I think I met about 10 or 12 people that I didn't even know before, but I met them through the power of social media. And obviously it's great to connect with locals, and these people who I'd never met, they were just 2 degrees of separation away, was super helpful. So I highly recommend that if you're going to a city, to put in your social media and you'll get connected.
Yeah.
Simon, I have a question for you, because you kind of talked about 10 years ago, you know, these bloggers running around South Africa, and I'm curious for all the people that want to be digital nomads and the people that have taken our course on traveling the world that Ricky and I have, well, it's in the process of being published right now. Is there still opportunities for bloggers or vloggers to go around and get tours in exchange for posting and publishing content?
There are many opportunities, but there are a lot of travel bloggers, and you know the travel industry are inundated with travel bloggers trying to get free things and trying to get paid to actually do it as well, because there are professional bloggers out there who try to get who want to get paid and do get paid because they offer great value. But you know there are opportunities for people to do exchanges for blog posts and things like that, but it's getting more niche, I would say. You know, if you just sort of approach a lodge, or if you approach a hotel or a destination and say, hey, I'm a travel blogger, I've got X amount of followers, I've got X amount of people, and I can write a blog post for you, you know, a lot of people are getting 10, 20, 30, maybe hundreds of those emails a week. So, you know, you've really got to stand out. So, you know, like Ricky, for example, his niche of the daddy traveling the world, that's an interesting niche. So if people do want to become bloggers and they do want to use that way of traveling, really sort of identify a niche you want to target, and then that will make you stand out from the other people.
So what you're saying is that my niche should be the early 20-something group.
Exactly, definitely. Or grey beard, Santa Claus looking men. That would be a good one as well. Men who look like Santa Claus, that could be a good niche.
Hey, you've traveled to like 70 countries. We kind of brushed over that part, but I think out of all the interview guests, I think you're at the top right now. I'm sure we're going to interview people who've been to every country in the world. I'm a little bit behind you. I'm at about 63, but I'm catching up. Who knows by then you're at 70 as well.
But 70 in 20 years means I went to a lot more than just the airport. That's a difference. You know, I see people post. I see people post online saying, "Hey, I'm traveling for 3 years and I've been to 70 countries." And like, that doesn't count to me. It really doesn't count. I like to say, you know, you've been to a country if you've been there for like at least a month, you know.
And that's a good rule of thumb. I mean, that's what we're doing currently. Like, we're visiting about a month per country. Obviously, smaller countries like French Guiana, Suriname, it's about a week. But bigger countries like Brazil, it's about 6 weeks. In South Africa, we were there for 2 months. So tell us about some of your highlights, because we talk about digital nomadism. We covered, you know, income generation, but we didn't cover the whole travel side of your journey. So in 20 years, what are some of your highlights of the 70 countries so far?
Well, one of my definite highlights was it was 17 years ago now, but I was standing on the beach in Copacabana for the millennium. That was amazing. You know, the New Year's Eve in Rio always gets about 2 to 3 million people on the beach, but I've still got the Newsweek article magazine in my house somewhere where they said there was 5.5 million people on Copacabana beach to celebrate the millennium. That was really good. I've been to 3 World Cups, like I said before. I've been to the World Cup in Germany in 2006. I was at the World Cup in South Africa in 2010. I've been to the World Cup Brazil in 2014. My favorite country in the world, believe it or not, is still South Africa. Out of all the countries in the world I've been to, South Africa is still my favorite. Cape Town is my favorite city in the world. I second South Africa with Argentina. Argentina is very similar to South Africa, which, you know, is so far away from anywhere else being one of the similarities. I really do like Argentina as well. You know, I've spent a lot of time in Asia, but not for many years. So I've been to China. China's an amazing place to visit, but I always put China on the list of one of the countries in the world that you get to visit, and it feels like a different planet. China is really a different planet to anywhere else I've been. So yeah, I've traveled extensively in Africa, South America, not much to the States, to be honest. I actually only went to the United States for the first time in 2014.
I just want a second to think about South Africa. South Africa is incredible. Out of my 60 countries, I think South Africa ranks there in the top 3 as well. I love South Africa, and Cape Town ranks in the top 3 for me. I think I still like Sydney, Australia better than Cape Town in terms of just the amazing beauty of Sydney, Australia. And I think Cape Town is my second, and then Rio de Janeiro is my third in terms of just beautiful cities.
Yeah, well, a few years ago, the theme of my trip a few years ago, I was country shopping. I left Cape Town and I went country shopping, and I had this dream of going to live in South America. And it was when the Brazilian real was very high. So the quality, the cost of living in Brazil was very, very expensive, and I didn't find the quality that high. And when I traveled to Argentina, it was during the crash in Argentina. So Argentina was very, very cheap. They had the unofficial exchange rate where you could change pesos on the street for like double the amount of the official exchange rate. But when I put everything into comparison, and in that 12 months, I was in Chile, I was in Argentina, I was in Colombia, I was in Brazil, I was in the United States, I was back in Europe as well. And in that 12 months, I still put South Africa as the best place based on the quality of life, the value for money where it comes to food and accommodation and things like that, the quality of food and accommodation, and obviously weather and diversity. I definitely put South Africa up there as still one of the best.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Simon, for joining us. It's been a treasure trove of information, and I hope and I want to invite you to come on again in a few months. We'll catch up with you. We'll see more about what's happening at coworkingdays.com and your conferences.
Well, that was what I was just about to mention, but before we got cut off just before. The thing with what we're doing with Co-working Days is a really new, unique concept, where we're having co-working day events sponsored by Cape Town in different cities around the world, where 10 digital nomads at each event can win the opportunity to go to Cape Town on an all expenses paid trip and just live the digital nomad life. So that's really interesting, and you can find out more information about that on coworkingdays.com.
Great. Well, thank you for joining us, everybody. Ricky,
nice
you want to just tie it all together in a nice little bow?
Simon, you've shared so much knowledge, so much wisdom, so much expertise. I think a lot of people will have follow-up questions. So what is an email or a way for people to contact you so that they can get more advice?
Well, I'm a very open networker, so you can friend me on Facebook. You will find me on Simon Lewis on Facebook. If you put Simon Lewis Cape Town, there's many Simon Lewises, but if you put Simon Lewis Cape Town, I'm number one. I've got these sunglasses on my profile picture, and this hat, so you can spot that. You can find me on LinkedIn, Simon Lewis on LinkedIn. You can follow me on Twitter @SimLewis. On Instagram, I'm @SimLewis. And also my email address is simon@travelconceptsolution.com, which is my main brand. So that's
and
Simon.
Quickly, your websites as well. You have 3 or 4 websites. So what are the websites people can find?
If you want, it's travelconceptsolution.com is our main umbrella brand, which is our marketing agency. We've got coworkingdays.com, which is our co-working brand, and also we've got a few Facebook brands and things like that. You can check out our Africa stuff with Africa Travel Network. That's just the Facebook group, the Facebook page, and we use the hashtag AfriExpert. If you want local information from African bloggers, we share all that there.
Well, amazing. As you can hear or see from this interview, people like Simon who have traveled the world, who have worked around the world, who have become established digital nomads, they're all about giving back and supporting and helping others. And, Simon, myself, and Scott, we're always here for you to help out. Make sure you message us on social media, on our websites, on our email, and make sure you connect with Simon on all of his platforms. And thanks for tuning in to Digital Nomad Mastery. Make sure you subscribe to us on iTunes. Make sure you subscribe to us on YouTube as well. And share if you know people who want to travel the world while making money, which I think we all do. Then make sure you share our podcast and our YouTube channel with them. So thanks, everyone, and we'll see you in the next episode.
See you. Bye.